June 8, 1942. Imperial Japanese Navy General Staff Headquarters, Tokyo. Vice Admiral Takejiro Onishi stands before a wall-sized map of the Pacific, marked with red flags showing Japanese conquests, stretching from the Aleutians to the Solomon Islands. Outside, summer rain patters against windows overlooking the Imperial Palace grounds. Inside, cigarette smoke drifts through lamplight as staff officers gather around the operations table, their faces grave despite recent victories. Captain Yoshitake Miwa reads the latest damage assessments from Coral Sea and Midway. American carriers sunk, Lexington, Yorktown, possibly others damaged beyond repair. The room erupts in subdued satisfaction. Rear Admiral Matomu Gaki marks the losses on his chart with black ink. 3 American fleet carriers in 2 months, he says, voice carrying measured confidence. At this rate, their Pacific carrier force will cease to exist by year's end. Officers nod, calculating ratios, exchange rates, acceptable losses. Onishi studies intelligence estimates spread across mahogany tables. American carrier strength before Pearl Harbor, 7 fleet carriers. Current operational strength, perhaps 4, maybe 5. Japanese strength, 6 fleet carriers remaining after Midway's losses. The Americans cannot replace carriers quickly, Commander Yasuji Watanabe states, pointing to construction timelines. Fleet carrier construction requires 3 to 4 years. We have time to consolidate our defensive perimeter. The intelligence reports detail American shipyard capacity. Mare Island, Pearl Harbor, Norfolk. Damaged facilities, limited slipways, constrained industrial base stretched across automobile production, aircraft manufacturing, Army equipment. Watanabe's analysis concludes America might launch 2, perhaps 3 new carriers annually. Japan's own production schedule shows 2 fleet carriers under construction, completion expected by 1944. The mathematics appear favorable. Trade carriers at 2-to-1 ratios, Japan survives. America bleeds out. Attrition warfare favors the defender, Ugaki argues, tapping his pencil against the operations map. Every carrier we sink forces America to stretch remaining forces thinner. Our land-based aircraft from island fortifications multiply our effective strength. The logic seems sound. Japan's carrier aviators, the finest in the world, blooded in China, trained for years, against hastily trained American replacements. Superior quality will overcome American industrial advantages. Yet Midway's outcome troubles Onishi. 4 Japanese carriers lost versus 1 American. The exchange rate reversed catastrophically. He reviews after-action reports late into the night, tracing tactical decisions, intelligence failures, the unexpected appearance of American dive bombers at the decisive moment. But strategic assumptions remain intact. America lost Yorktown. Japan lost 4 carriers, but retains trained aircrew reserves, strategic initiative. Losses can be absorbed if carrier exchange rates improve. In the officers' mess, Lieutenant Commander Mitsuo Fuchida, who led the Pearl Harbor attack, discusses qualitative advantages with fellow aviators. Japanese torpedoes superior. Japanese carriers better designed. Japanese naval doctrine more aggressive, flexible. American carriers are floating coffins, he says, remembering how quickly their ships burned at Pearl Harbor. We've proven our superiority. Now we exploit it systematically through carefully planned attrition. Japan's own production constraints remain unspoken. Steel allocations, shipyard capacity, trained workforce limitations, all stretch supporting Army operations in China defending Pacific conquests, maintaining merchant fleet under increasing submarine attack. The 2 carriers under construction consume resources desperately needed elsewhere. But planners assume America faces identical constraints, magnified by fighting simultaneously in Europe against Germany. Ugaki drafts strategic projections for combined fleet headquarters. If Japan sinks 2 American carriers for every one lost, American Pacific carrier strength reaches 0 within 18 months. Japanese strength stabilizes at 4 to 5 operational carriers, sufficient to dominate Pacific waters. The Americans understand naval mathematics, and he writes in Knighton's War Diary. They will seek negotiated settlement once carrier losses become unsustainable. But in Washington, President Roosevelt signs documents authorizing unprecedented naval construction, names unfamiliar to Japanese intelligence: Essex, Intrepid, Hornet, Wasp, Bunker Hill. Keels laid in shipyards expanding faster than reconnaissance can track. American welders work triple shifts under arc lights, transforming blueprints into steel reality at speeds peacetime minds consider impossible. The Imperial Japanese Navy calculates carrier exchange rates, while America prepares to drown them in numbers that will shatter every assumption, every calculation, every hope. October 12, 1943. Office of Naval Intelligence, Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. Commander Jisaku Okada sits in an interrogation room painted institutional gray, handcuffed wrists resting on a metal table bolted to the concrete floor. He was pulled from the Pacific 3 weeks ago after his destroyer went down off Vela La Vela. Lieutenant Commander Edwin Layton enters, carrying a manila folder thick with documents. Behind him, an interpreter. Outside, the sounds of Pearl Harbor, rebuilt, expanded, humming with industrial activity, Okada finds unsettling. Layton spreads photographs across the table without preamble, aerial reconnaissance images of American shipyards. Okada's eyes widen despite his attempt at composure. Newport News, 6 carrier hulls visible simultaneously. New York Naval Shipyard, 4 more under construction. Philadelphia, Norfolk, Quincy. The photographs continue, each revealing massive construction programs. How many? Okada asks quietly in English. Layton's response comes flat, factual. Over 100 carriers currently under construction or planned. The number doesn't register immediately. Okada stares at the photographs, counting slipways, measuring hull sizes against reference markers. His mind performs calculations trained into every Japanese naval officer: construction times, resource requirements, workforce needs. The mathematics become impossible. "You're showing me propaganda," he says finally, voice uncertain. "Fabricated intelligence to demoralize prisoners." Layton slides another document across the table. Congressional appropriations records, public documents, names, budgets, completion dates, all officially published in American newspapers. Okada reads the list. Essex-class fleet carriers, 24 ordered. Independence-class light carriers, 9 converted from cruiser hulls, already operational. Escort carriers, the list extends for pages. Casablanca-class, Bogue-class, Sangamon-class, 50 escort carriers building simultaneously at Kaiser shipyards alone. His hands begin trembling slightly. He sets the papers down, looks at Layton. "This production rate, no nation has this capacity." "We do," Layton responds. He produces construction timeline documents showing carrier completions. USS Essex commissioned December 1942. USS Yorktown, second ship bearing that name, April 1943. 1 fleet carrier completing every month, light carriers every 3 weeks, escort carriers rolling out of Kaiser's Vancouver yard every 5 days. 5 days. Okada commanded a destroyer that took 2 years to build. America produces aircraft carriers faster than Japan builds patrol boats. The interpreter translates Okada's whispered Japanese. "We were told American industry was committed to Europe. that Pacific operations received limited resources. Leighton opens another folder. Pacific Fleet Strength Projections through 1945. By mid-1944, 30 fleet carriers operational. By 1945, over 50. We're fighting 2 wars simultaneously, Leighton explains. This is what America does with limited resources. The words hit Okada like physical blows. Okada's professional composure cracks. He requests water, drinks slowly, staring at the photographs. His mind races through strategic implications. Every Japanese carrier sunk represents irreplaceable loss. Trained crews, experienced commanders, years of construction. Every American carrier sunk will be replaced within months by 3 more. The attrition strategy, the careful calculations in Tokyo, the confident projections, all built on fundamentally false assumptions about American industrial capacity. In another facility, Captain Atsushi Oi received similar briefings. Former staff officer for Combined Fleet, he helped draft the attrition warfare strategy. Now he studies American production figures with growing horror. The numbers represent existential threat beyond military defeat. Japan's entire strategy assumed roughly equal industrial capacity. These documents reveal catastrophic disparity, 10 to 1, 20 to 1 in some categories. We read specifications for Essex-class carriers, 36,000 tons, 90 aircraft capacity, sophisticated radar systems, each ship equivalent to Japan's best carriers, but America builds 2 monthly. He calculates Japan's total carrier production through 1945, perhaps 4 additional fleet carriers if resources permit. America will field that many in 6 weeks. The mathematics of doom become inescapable. The interrogators show Oi photographs of Kaiser shipyards in Vancouver, Washington. Prefabricated construction modules assembled like children's blocks. Welding replacing riveting, reducing construction time by 2/3. Assembly line techniques applied to shipbuilding. Americans treat warships like automobiles, stamping them out with industrial efficiency that sacrifices nothing in quality while multiplying output beyond comprehension. Japan built individual masterpieces. America manufactures fleets. Across multiple interrogation centers, the pattern repeats. Captured Japanese naval officers confronted with American production realities. Some refuse to believe, insisting on propaganda and deception. Others, like Okada and Oi, possess enough technical knowledge to recognize truth. They understand ship construction, resource requirements, industrial processes. The numbers, however staggering, follow logical patterns. America isn't exaggerating. They're understating capabilities. By late 1943, Japanese intelligence in Tokyo receives reports from repatriated prisoners through neutral channels. The reports describe American production claims. Analysts mark them as probable psychological warfare, possible exaggeration, recommended further verification. But reconnaissance flights over American shipyards, when they occur, confirm massive construction programs. The evidence accumulates, undeniable and devastating. Japan fights war of attrition against opponent who considers carrier losses rounding errors in production schedules. June 19th, 1944. Philippine Sea, aboard flagship carrier Taihō. Vice Admiral Ozawa stands on the bridge as dawn breaks over the largest carrier battle since Midway. He commands 9 carriers, Japan's entire remaining fleet strength, facing American Task Force 58. Through binoculars, he counts American carrier silhouettes on the horizon. 15 fleet carriers. The number alone should be impossible. 6 months ago, intelligence reported 8 American carriers operational in the Pacific. Now 15 appear before him. Ozawa's operations officer, Commander Masatake Okumiya, provides updated contact reports. Additional American carriers detected to the northeast. Estimated total, 15 fleet carriers, numerous escort carriers providing combat air patrol. Ozawa lowers his binoculars slowly. He commanded carriers at Coral Sea, at Eastern Solomons, watching American strength grow with each engagement, while Japanese strength withered. This represents industrialized warfare on scale his mind struggles to process. The battle unfolds with brutal efficiency. Japanese strike aircraft launch in massive waves. Over 400 planes heading toward the American fleet. American radar detects them at 100 miles. Grumman F-6F Hellcats intercept at 70 miles. The slaughter begins before Japanese aircraft sight enemy ships. Radio channels fill with desperate calls, confusion, death screams cut short. By noon, American pilots call it the Great Marianas Turkey Shoot. Over 300 Japanese aircraft destroyed for minimal American losses. Ozawa receives fragmentary reports aboard Taihō before American submarine torpedoes slam into his flagship's hull. Explosions rip through aviation fuel systems. Within hours, Taihō, Japan's newest, most advanced carrier, sinks. Ozawa transfers his flag to cruiser Haguro, watching his flagship disappear beneath waves. From Haguro's bridge, he witnesses the industrial disparity made manifest. American carriers recover aircraft, rearm them, launch again within hours. His own remaining carriers can barely maintain defensive patrols. July 1944. Ozawa returns to Japan aboard cruiser. His carrier force shattered. In Combined Fleet Headquarters, he delivers after-action reports to Admiral Suemu Toyoda. The briefing room falls silent as Ozawa presents the mathematics. 3 Japanese carriers sunk, over 600 aircraft lost. 2/3 of Japan's remaining carrier air groups, irreplaceable pilots dead. American losses, minor damage to 2 carriers, 130 aircraft destroyed, all American losses already replaced. How many carriers do they have now? Toyoda asks, his voice carrying exhaustion. Ozawa consults intelligence summaries. 21 fleet carriers confirmed operational. 8 more completing trials. 12 additional hulls in advanced construction. Light carriers and escort carriers, over 100 operational or completing. The room absorbs this in stunned silence. Japan possesses 5 damaged carriers, no trained air groups to fly from them. Toyoda spreads reconnaissance photographs across the conference table. American anchorage at Ulithi Atoll, recently captured. The photographs show massed American naval power, carriers stretching to the horizon, logistics ships, destroyers, cruisers. One anchorage contains more carriers than Japan built in its entire history. This is one task force, Toyoda says quietly. Intelligence confirms 3 more of similar composition operating simultaneously. We face over 90 carriers. We have 5, none combat ready. Ozawa examines the photographs with professional detachment, born from accepting the unacceptable. He recognizes Essex-class carriers by their distinctive island structures. Intrepid, Hornet, Wasp, Hancock, Bunker Hill. Each identical, mass-produced, interchangeable. Behind them, Independence-class light carriers. Further back, escort carriers in formations of 10, 20 ships. America doesn't build ships. It manufactures them, stamping out carriers like rifle cartridges. Can we achieve favorable exchange ratios? An optimistic staff officer asks. Ozawa's response comes measured, final. We achieved 4-to-1 kill ratios at Philippine Sea. We lost 3 carriers. They lost none. Even at 10-to-1 ratios, They produce faster than we can sink them. They commission 2 fleet carriers monthly. We cannot sink 24 carriers annually before our own fleet ceases to exist. The mathematics are simple and absolute. In his private quarters, Ozawa drafts a classified assessment for Navy General Staff. The language remains professional, clinical, but the conclusion proves inescapable. Japan cannot win a war of attrition against American industrial capacity. We assumed American production faced similar constraints to our own. These assumptions were catastrophically incorrect. America operates under different economic paradigms we failed to comprehend. They do not choose between civilian and military production. They expand both simultaneously. December 1944. Ozawa provides testimony to investigative commission examining Japan's Pacific War strategy. When asked when he realized Japan could not win, his answer comes without hesitation. When I learned America had over 100 carriers under construction. Perhaps earlier when intelligence reports described Essex-class production rates. But certainly by Philippine Sea when I witnessed 15 American carriers operating simultaneously while Japan struggled to maintain 5. You cannot win attrition warfare when your opponent produces in 1 month what you build in 1 year. August 1945. Emperor Hirohito announces surrender. Ozawa sits in his modest Tokyo apartment listening to the broadcast through radio static. American carriers, over 100 now operational, surround Japan's home islands, launching strikes at will. The carriers he once feared, then respected, finally accepted as symbols of Japan's fundamental strategic failure. America didn't win through superior tactics or braver sailors. They won by building faster, producing more, sustaining losses that would cripple any other nation while growing stronger. You cannot sink 100 carriers with courage alone.